Welcome to Destination Linux, the Springfield of open source shenanigans, where every commit is a donut-fueled adventure. I'm your Homer Simpson, apparently, this week. Michael, that's my name, bumbling through the tech sector with my trusty crew of code-slamming misfits, ready to stir up the Linux Quickie Mart. Quickie Mart. Jill is our Marge, quick-witted, stack-smashing matriarch who can whip up a blue-haired masterpiece of digital art in her sleep. Right?
I like that.
Ryan is our Bart, a rebel sysadmin skateboarding through firewalls and always ready to prank a proprietary app with a killer patch. His catchphrase? Eat my commits, man. This week's escapade, we're cracking open Floorp, with a Firefox alternative that's spicier than a flaming Mo, and digging into companies like Redis, who leave open source for a corporate joyride only to crawl back to the community. Plus, I've got a surprise segment. Don't worry, it's not another Duff beer recipe. Or is it? So grab your slushie, sync your repos, and remember, in open source, we don't say, Joe. To freedom, we say, woohoo! Let's get started. This is Destination Linux.
In our community feedback this week, it comes from Chris, who says this. Michael, this is very important. Chris has a message for us.
Right. So Chris's message is, Ryan's okay, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is
This
fantastic.
is a crappy start.
Great feedback, Chris. I love it. Wonderful.
Yeah.
So Chris is referencing an episode where Michael has started a new viral thing to say Ryan is okay, I guess. And that's now been in YouTube comments.
If you want to say it correctly, Ryan, it's obviously Ryan is okay, I guess.
You've really thought this through.
Yeah, you have
bothers me.
You have to do an emphasis. And also, Wendy did a fantastic visual edit on the show. I think it was like 2 episodes ago. So if you haven't seen it, go check it out. And it's basically like a Saved by the Bell 90s vibe of the visuals. And I think we're going to make a shirt off of that. So anyone who wants to tell Ryan he's okay, I guess, can get an awesome, like sick, tubular, whatever 90s other things I can't
very,
think of.
very interesting. Wendy's edits have gotten way better on the show, like incredible. And I was really impressed until I found out she uses Windows and Adobe to do that, which really bothers me.
Neither one of those things are true.
Ian in our community has this to say, because we can't just end with that one community feedback, right?
I think
right?
we could totally. That's the best you could possibly do feedback for.
Now, let's see what Ian has to say.
Okay, let's see what Ian has to say.
I cannot believe, this is going to be good when they start
when you start your feedback with "I can't believe" or like "How could you say this?" or
right, yeah, this is definitely going to be a positive one. I cannot believe how wonderful all of you are and how amazing you are at this show.
I bet the next message we get on the feedback is going to be like these kind of set up sentences just to make us kind of twist, and it's going to actually be a good one.
I like it. I cannot believe I must provide more information. That's the sentence there. They can't believe it. Like, someone able to eat their own head. Fine. They believe that. What they cannot believe, Michael, is that they have to provide more information to this.
Okay, but also, just real quick, if you think that we are robots that have all the information just jammed into our heads, first,
You're
that's
correct.
not. Then that's Jill. She knows everything. Ryan and I do not at all.
Yeah. We know everything and then some. They go on to say anti-cheat is bad, but it's not a rootkit.
It is.
Rootkit refers to malware that operates outside the OS. You dummy, Michael. God.
Okay, so here's
they didn't put that part.
They didn't put the dummy Michael thing.
Yeah.
That's just Ryan's ad lib.
Missed a great opportunity.
But so this is definitely like an actually type of feedback, and that's okay because they're saying, and I quote, rootkit refers to malware that operates outside the OS. Actually, rootkit does not have to be malware. It's something that has outside of the OS that also has root privileges. Typically, it is associated to malware, but it does not have to be malware in order to be a rootkit.
I'm actually
exactly. If you want to be pedantic, let's do it.
All right. They go on to say rootkits infect the underlying hardware and act like a hypervisor of sorts and spy on the whole system. A needy cheat, they misspelt it. And because they're a little ugly in their email, I'm reading it as is. Otherwise, I'd have fixed it. But since your email starts off a little ugly, a needy cheat, I think you meant anti-cheat, works with the OS at a higher level. By the way, we're just having fun.
Actually, and you're like a little petty about it. Like
we're just having fun. Like this is fun. Like the email honestly is great. It's actually really informative, and I think it creates a great discussion point. So, Ian, we're having fun. Please know that.
And we wouldn't put it on the show if we didn't think it was worth putting on the show.
Yeah, exactly. So. This is actually really interesting. So anti-cheat works within the OS at a higher level than other running processes. So cheat software can theoretically hide itself. Apple has never espoused open source. So they're going on to another subject at this point. I guess we were wrong on multiple subjects. On the beginning of the OS X, they used it, but they quickly moved things toward in-house solution. Reason Apple shares health data is they got criticism for initially blocking all third-party access to the data, and that really doesn't meet the definition of open source in the first place.
That's true, but real quick before we get onto that stuff, Apple has done open source. A lot of people don't realize that they have funded open source projects a lot, and they also for a long time. I mean, I'm not saying that they did it for a long time, like Cups. For the Cups project was created before without Apple. Michael Sweet created the Cups project, and then he became an employee for Apple for a long time. And he was still the employee until he decided to leave and make the Open Printing project. So they were funding the Cups project for a very long time through him, and they have contributed to open source a lot. Now, Ryan was right last time where they're contributing because it benefits them and solely because it benefits them, but still, you can't just say they don't do it at all, because there's evidence they do.
Yeah, exactly. And whether they were forced to from some person, the health data there is a very critical thing that is open source. And I don't think you could really force a $2 trillion company to do much. So, they did it. Anyways, the comment I find incorrect in a couple of ways, going back to the whole discussion of rootkits. Rootkits are typically, as Michael said, malicious software that gain privileged access with an operating system. And not necessarily outside it or at the hardware level acting as a hypervisor in all cases either. Many anti-cheat systems, especially the kernel level ones, exhibit, malicious rootkit-like behavior by deeply embedding themselves in the OS and monitoring all the activities, which, can basically do everything from check some on your drivers, inspecting how your system's working, all this stuff. Vanguard is an anti-cheat that's used by the game Valorant and is seen as especially egregious because it can monitor system activities even beyond your game. So it's not just...
and it's also even worse than that because Vanguard runs at all times, whether the game is running or not.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So yes, if your definition is solely based on intent, you could say the intent is not to be a rootkit for malicious purposes, as far as we know. But
who knows?
There are foreign governments, amongst others, who are very interested, as we have found out throughout a bajillion news articles, in basically compromising systems through backdoors. And since these non-malicious anti-cheat rootkits that run at a rootkit level on your system create a perfect opportunity for a backdoor, this leaves your system susceptible. So whether their intent was to make it malicious or not, let's assume all anti-cheat systems are made without any malicious intent, and there's no foreign government involvement, and there's no government telling them to make a backdoor. Just the very existence of where it's running, if it is not perfect software, which we know there's no such thing as, then it can be used itself to access very low levels of your system, which puts you in danger. So the reality is we have no idea if it's malicious or not when you run one of these anti-cheats at a low level because they're poorly written. They could be poorly written, number one, which could create backdoors. They could be insecure, number two, and they're proprietary, so you have no idea what it's actually doing or what those vulnerabilities may be until generally they're exploited. So by installing it, you've purposely opened your system to all kinds of vulnerabilities. To me, that is the very definition of something that intent may not be malicious, but is malicious by design. In that, yes, it's trying to stop cheating, great, but by doing so, you have basically opened your entire system up to somebody to do something against. So they agreed. In did say, hey, anti-cheat is bad. So they're not saying anti-cheat is good, but I'm saying look at it even from your malicious standpoint, that this type of code is basically malware. And if it's not, it can be used to transmit malware.
And it's creating a backdoor into the system. Whether it's a backdoor that's used nefariously or if it's used by the whole purpose of doing the anti-cheat, it's still creating like this I don't know, nanny thing inside of your system, trying to like control what you can do on your computer and stuff like that. So, and the fact that they make everyone use it, and also the term rootkit does not mean malicious, but also if you look into their announcement page when they announced they were doing this, they said a couple of things that I found personally interesting. And the one thing is that they asked the frequently asked questions. And the question that popped in my mind right now is that they said, is this spyware? No, it's not spyware. But they never answered the rootkit part. They only answered if it was spyware. And here's the thing. The only reason something would be called spyware is if you don't know about it. So just by them telling you it's there, that's why it's not spyware, because it's not behind your back. That's the definition. They're
also not telling you everything it does, which
they're not telling you anything.
Spyware.
They also said, which is the worst part, is if you're not comfortable with it, then you shouldn't play the game because you should be trusting us. They said if you don't trust the people at Riot Games, and we haven't proven are worthy of trust, then you shouldn't play the game. That's what they said. And typically, if that's your retort of why someone should be okay with it, that's not a great response.
What's funny is a cybersecurity principle is zero trust by default. So
exactly
the fact that they're telling you, hey, this company of people you don't know, and you have no idea who we've hired, and you have no idea how good they're writing at software, trust us because we make video games. So truly, we happen to know also how to make the most secure.
And also, it's
rootkit.
not like we sold our company to a giant corporate conglomerate. Oh, wait, we did do that. We as in Riot Games.
Yeah.
So,
well, Microsoft has been under a lot of pressure over this very, very issue. In fact, they have talked about not even allowing it in their system anymore. So we're on the Linux side.
Unfortunately, that's not true. There's a lot of people talking about how they're going to, some people are like, oh, this is going to change all it's going to do is make another route. So they're making an API that can do stuff that's different
to go around it.
And but it still doesn't remove the anti-cheat stuff. And it's still going to be there. It doesn't, but also they have it because of their own actions. The reason is because they created Defender or something that gave themselves they created a competitive field where they had stuff that they could do that their competitors couldn't do, and the EU forced them to create an even playing field. And by doing so, they gave people access to the root stuff. And so it's because Microsoft, they're kind of pretend that they are a victim in this or whatever, but they're the ones who created the thing in the first place so that they could have control of the stuff. It's a very complicated thing, but all the stuff about the anti-cheats are going away. It's not. It's kind of worse.
Well, they should go away.
Well, the developers are being, they're being pressured too. I mean, I just got done reading a big article about the rootkits and how, of course, on Linux, we don't want to deal with any of it. So,
I mean, it technically can't even work because the systems, we could go in the system and tweak it.
What's interesting about this problem of anti-cheat, we could probably do a whole episode on it.
Don't you mean a nigga cheat?
Even with all of these rootkit super permissive systems that they put in for anti-cheat, people are still cheating because there's hardware-based cheats now, there's monitor-based cheats,
which is the most hilarious thing. And also League of Legends announced that they were going to add the Vanguard thing because it's so effective or whatever. And the same week they announced it, I forgot what, I think it was MSI, announced a monitor specifically designed to cheat at League of Legends.
Yes.
It completely eliminates all of the value of this ridiculous anti-cheat, if it had any in the first place. It's like and it uses AI inside of the monitor to do the cheating on the monitor. So,
there's a couple of things that companies can do. I think Steam sets a really good example with their games. They have some anti-cheat. Doesn't run, it can run on Linux and doesn't run at these ridiculous levels of your system and only runs when the game's running. But additionally, they have really good community reporting. So these people get blocked and taken out the game. I hate cheaters as much as anybody. I love playing Marvel Rivals. And you could tell when you go in the game and you've got someone that no longer can die. They can shoot everyone around walls. They completely kill off your team the whole time. It makes the whole game kind of a terrible experience. I don't know what joy anybody gets out of this stuff. I think a lot of us are lost in how is that fun to not have any skill and just be sitting there with a cheat?
Maybe some people think that they enjoy delusions. I don't know. Delusions that they're good at a game or something. I don't know.
But reporting these issues is, one of the things, reporting these people, getting them banned. And then, of course, they come back with new IPs and new accounts and they have to spend their money on it. And it's no matter what, it's a revolving door of people trying to create these anti-cheat. No matter how low level your anti-cheat is, someone's always going to find a way around it. And that's just the reality. So therefore, compromising your entire system with one of these to do so.
I think the solution is very clear for Riot Games. Just make your own operating system that the only thing you can do is play that game.
Yeah, everyone will install that for sure. Yeah. Ian, really good comment. I know we're being funny at the beginning, but it is an interesting conversation. Yeah. By the way, this is something that is argued all over the internet of whether this is truly a rootkit or not. Hacker News has a whole forum on this where people are arguing back and forth whether it is or not. So it's not a clean cut thing, but hopefully you can at least see why we consider it. And I'm taking the side of it is a rootkit. And if you believe that it's not because of whatever definition, then you're not alone. I don't think there's 100% right answer. I think either way, your comment of, hey, anti-cheat systems are bad. Yeah, that's where we'll land on that one.
And I think it's also a good point to just say that even if they have no intention of being malicious, I consider it a malicious act to be tracking my system in any way like that. So
there you go. Yep.
If you'd like to give us some more feedback, you can go to destinationlinux.net/comments and also destinationlinux.net/forum if you want to leave it there. And remember, just whatever you want to talk about, anything you want to be like Ian and you want to send us your opinion on a particular topic, absolutely do it. Or you want to be like Chris and tell Ryan,
no,
he's
don't
okay.
Be like Chris.
I guess.
No more emails like Chris, everyone. No,
at least 20 per day, people. 20 more
emails. Hey, Michael, as Linux users, we know what's up.
Oh, yeah, we do.
Security is not negotiable. That's what we were just talking about. It's not negotiable. But with threats getting smarter, your security tools need to keep pace without dragging your system down. And traditional agents, they slow down and leave blind spots. And it's time for a smarter approach. That's why Destination Linux is proud to be sponsored by Sandfly Security.
Oh, yeah.
This is a revolutionary agentless platform designed for Linux. And if you didn't know, you're listening to Destination Linux. We're kind of all about the Linux thing here. So
we are kind of interested in Linux. That's right.
Go to destinationlinux.net/Sandfly and see how Sandfly can transform your security strategy. Sandfly just doesn't detect and respond. It revolutionizes security with SSH key tracking, password auditing, and drift detection, covering threats from every angle. Whether your systems are in the cloud or on-premise or in embedded devices or some hybrid approach, Sandfly ensures they're all secure without the headaches of agent-based solutions. Listen to what Ken Kleiner, senior security engineer at University of Massachusetts, has to say. Sandfly is the first product I've seen that accurately and quickly detects thousands of signs of compromise on the Linux platform. Its unique method automates tasks which would be manually impossible. Automation is key with detection, and Sandfly completely fits this and other requirements. If your organization is using Linux, this should be part of your cybersecurity toolset. Experience security that's not just effective, but gives you a peace of mind. No agents, no downtime, just cutting edge protection.
And if Sandfly wasn't already cool, they're giving you a discount. If you want to sign up for the home edition, you can get 50% off by using Destination50 as a discount code. So go to destinationlinux.net/Sandfly. That's destinationlinux.net/SANDFLY and check out the awesome service that is Sandfly Security. And remember, Destination50 for the coupon code. And also, of course, go to destinationlinux.net/409. We had an interview with the CEO of Sandfly, and it was fascinating. We talked about cybersecurity. We talked about Linux. We talked about open source. We even talked about DEF CON. Go check it out, destinationlinux.net/409.
So, Michael, we are headed to the Red Hat Summit this week. Well, we're recording this week.
Technically
next week. But.
So it's this week we're recording, and next week is when it's going to come out. But we're going to when it's coming out, we will literally be on the plane going to it. So yeah, and I wasn't aware that we were doing this at all. It's not that I'm wearing a shirt that literally says Red Hat Summit. I mean, I don't know if you noticed that.
I'm super excited. Last year when we went to Red Hat Summit, and I know you felt the same, Michael. I was blown away by the presentation that Red Hat put on. This is not some like small room event with a couple hundred people. We're talking like all the major vendors.
Yeah. All it was an auditorium, massive enterprise stuff. And it wasn't like I was, if you go into these conferences, you can go in the keynotes. Usually, most times I've gone to a conference anyway, there's keynotes that have a couple hundred people for sure. But this was a big theater that had a giant stage and just surrounded by seats. And I did not see an empty seat. It was packed. And there was easily a couple thousand or maybe more than that. I don't know. There was a lot of people. And it was very cool. And the only downside is that we were only able to meet and interact with maybe, 2% of the amount of people.
Yeah. There's so many booths, so much technology. We got to play with robotics. We got to see AI. We got to see automations. Mm-hmm. We got to see all the new stuff that Red Hat's working on being announced there. So we're going to do some coverage from the event. There won't be an episode next week unless we're doing anything, Michael, next week.
Well, technically, there won't be one the week after because this will come out the week of. So the week after that, we won't be doing it.
Logistics.
Unless we do something at the event and then make that into a show or something. We're going to be doing a bunch of stuff at the event, so maybe we'll figure out some way to do that. So we don't want you to not get your DL fix. So we're going to try to do something. But either way, you're going to get some new content the week of, and also the next week. It just might not be an episode, but there will be a bunch of stuff.
Make sure you're subscribed to the DOS Geek channel, my channel, and make sure you're subscribed to Michael's channel, Michael Tennell channel.
Yes, Michael Tennell channel. Yes.
Make sure that you're subscribed to those because we may have individual videos and things that come out from the conference, and probably some collabs. Some collabs will probably happen.
Some collabs. I think collabs will probably happen. I also think that we're going to have something on the DL channel, so be sure to subscribe to that too. And we'll probably put something in the RSS feed for the audio only people. We'll see. I'm offering way too much, and Ryan's in his head. I know he's just going like, Michael, don't commit to all this
say
stuff.
It because if you don't do it, then you have to get the comments that say, actually you didn't. Not fun.
That's fair. That's fair. So I'm just saying maybe.
All right, Michael. So you apparently have been dabbling around researching other distros. You decided
lots of distros.
That you want to cheat on your current distro. What did you find that you're going to switch to?
Not at all. How dare you? Yeah. In fact, I've already been cheating on all the distros because I've been multi-booting like 3 or 4 different distros for the past couple of months. So deal with it. It's just another one to add it to the pile. And but also and just today I was playing around with Cosmic on Pop! OS. So there's that.
Ooh.
But we'll talk about that in a future episode. But this is something I wanted to talk about because it's an interesting distro by itself, but also it brings up a question that I wanted to ask both of you and see what your take is on this.
All right.
But let's meet Anduin OS. I don't know if that's how you say it. I think it is.
Hi, Anduin.
Yeah.
Anduin actually is the name of the person who made Anduin OS. Yeah. So that is legit a thing you just did.
Maybe we could have him on at some point.
Maybe. Mm-hmm. So Anduin OS is a custom Ubuntu-based Windows 11-like Linux distribution developed by a Microsoft engineer.
Boo, Microsoft. Oh, sorry.
That's a roller coaster of a sentence, actually, too. So, but What's interesting is that they have a lot of modifications to their previous version. So they've upgraded from the 24.10 to the 25.04. They have introduced a new app store with Flatpak support. They have activated a new shortcut for the clipboard manager, which is really cool, and a bunch of stuff. And they use GNOME as the base to do this, I'm pretty sure. And they've also done a lot of improvements to like the UI and stuff like that for like the polish and stuff. But the thing that I wanted to talk about, and the thing I wanted to ask both of you, is looking at this distribution, you would see Windows 11 like a lot, like a lot. It is not just Windows 11 like, it is heavily, clearly inspired, arguably maybe even slightly a carbon copy of Windows 11. It is very close. And I think that's interesting, but I'm curious, do you think that it's a good thing or potentially a bad thing to create a distribution that looks like it's Windows 11?
Well, actually, Windows was honestly very successful. That was kind of one of the first OSs that
well, then it
looked
got
like
sued by
Windows.
Microsoft.
Yeah, it did. And this one might
one of
too.
their own engineers?
I don't know.
Who knows?
I don't know.
It's a good question.
But this distro looks a lot nicer than even Windows did. So,
well, that's because Windows was made in like 1998 or something.
Yeah.
And this was made now.
The latest Windows looks way better than 3.11.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I do think there's a space for this. I mean, because there are so many Windows users that want to try Linux and they're intimidated because they don't want to learn a new, interface. And even though we have KDE and Cinnamon that are similar looking, it's still not the same experience. So who knows? Maybe it'll be successful.
Well, I feel like we have so many of these options out there that are, for transitioning people from Windows into Linux. And I love the concept.
Yeah.
Zorn OS is a great example of one of those.
Yeah.
Elementary OS, to me, although that's not its intention, is another example. Mint is another example of one where it's set up very similar to a Windows, interface out of the box. And so we have a lot of these that are to ease people's transition from Linux to Windows. And I think we're at a time now where we're going to have a lot of people who are going to be transitioning from Windows to Linux. In fact, Michael, in one of your videos, I was reading the comments and somebody had mentioned specifically that you had helped them make the final decision to cut their Windows cord and go full-time Linux and things like that. So I think there's a lot
wonderful to hear. And also I saw a couple comments over the past couple of videos that have said that, and it's awesome. I wish they'd tell me like how that happened. Like what actually initiated that. It could have been. It could have been.
It's definitely your face. They go, that's the face of somebody I want to support the operating system.
That guy is clearly trustworthy, and I'll install any anti-cheat he makes.
He makes. Specifically. Wouldn't that be funny if we like completely sell out and make our own anti-cheat that's a rootkit?
What will we even make an anti-cheat for?
Downloading our podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
MP3 rootkit.
MP3 rootkit. All right. So, I think this is cool. I think it's cool that there's a Microsoft engineer involved in it. Microsoft's an interesting company, man. I don't know where they're going to go when it comes to their operating system, because it just doesn't seem like it's a priority to them right now. And I always still have this sneaking suspicion that Microsoft at some point is just going to be like, hey, we're rebasing off of Linux. We're going to have our own version of a Linux-based.
I don't think that would ever happen, because then they would start losing like power of some sort.
They don't really have any power in the operating system world anyway. They give it away with their hardware. I mean, technically there's a fee that they charge the hardware manufacturers and stuff, but what are they doing with Windows that's exciting or new or anything anymore? It's so boring.
No.
Anyway.
Real question. The real question is, when have they ever done anything exciting with Windows?
I mean, look, there's some good Windows versions out there. 98 was a fantastic Windows.
98 SE.
SE. Yeah.
I mean, it was.
But then
really
they made a Millennium Edition.
Yep.
Aluminum.
Absolutely.
Windows aluminum.
And then they made Vista, which eventually
Vista-less.
Vista was actually okay.
Pretty
But
decent.
in the beginning, it was terrible.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Windows 8.
Also terrible. Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic.
So I feel like
We're just confused, everyone.
Yeah,
this is going terrible. One saying
and also even the ones that are good are not that good. They're still Windows, and they still have the annoyances that Windows always has, and people just kind of accept it or whatever. But I wanted to present another question that's related to this topic, and it's kind of like, it's not really a devil's advocate. It's more of like a different perspective in the sense of like, is this a good thing? And I think that you both had good points about like the values of this kind of thing, but what about the users who use this thinking that it is as like Windows 11 that it looks like, and then learning the hard way that it is in no way going to work like Windows? So the stuff that they download won't work. The stuff that they're expecting it to function like won't happen. And wouldn't that be more of like a negative actually, because of the fact that they're expecting it to be something, and then they just all they result is like it's a broken Windows, not really.
I think it's a really good point, because at the end of the day, Apple could make the argument, let's make Mac look as close to Windows and work as close to Windows as possible. That would make the transition to Mac really easy, but they don't. They actually do the opposite. They make it really different from a Windows experience, which I actually really enjoy about Mac, is that you're getting that different experience. That's one of the things I enjoy about Linux. When I'm in Linux, is I'm getting a different experience. Now, I see the point for these more for, hey, I've got family members that I want to transition to Linux because I'm tired of supporting their Windows and always getting viruses and blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to put this thing on that's pretty close. I'll install the software for them and get it running. As far as somebody out there exploring on their own to switch to something like this, I think you're right. I think it gives the false impression potentially that you're going to be able to. Remember that article we covered just 2 episodes ago, where the person was like, hey, the hardware I had specific for Windows didn't work, and the game I played just on Windows didn't work in Linux, and they were frustrated with Linux because they had this idea that they wouldn't have to do anything different and they could have the exact same experience they have in Windows. And I think there's a case there, Michael, to be made to say like, hey, when you try to make it look and feel and do things exactly like Windows, but then it's not, people are just going to go, this isn't what I expected to be running, because they're going to go look for their exe to go run, and it's not going to work.
Exactly. Yeah. And they're going to be downloading all sorts of stuff expecting it to work, and then it won't. But I mean, that's kind of my point. It's like this, I feel like there's a line. I don't know what that line is, but I feel like there's a line. You can make it feel like a Windows, maybe have the same kind of paradigm or vibe in terms of usage, but there's a point where it goes too far. And to me personally, I have nothing against Anduin OS or anything, but I feel like this is kind of too far, because it's just going to confuse people to think that this is a Windows system or something like close enough. They might realize that it's not Windows, but they might think it's so close that they could, just switch to it and not have to worry about changing anything. And I feel like that is a negative, because like you were saying, that Mac, people switch over to Mac and they have no expectation for it to work exactly the same, and they don't complain when literally everything is different. Like, it just, even Control is different on Mac than it is on Windows. Like Control and Alt and all the keyboards, like the super key and the command key and all these things, fundamental part of the keyboard that you're interacting with is different. And that doesn't get people yelling about how it's not compatible. It's not the same. Yet with Linux, they just get yelled. The people just get mad at the fact that it's not working exactly how they used to have Windows. When you're switching systems for a reason, it's because Windows is not great. Why do you want it to work like Windows anyway? Right.
Well, I think a good thing that the developer can do with Anduin OS is to have a welcome screen that goes into detail. Hey, this is not Windows, but we've tried to make it look as much like Windows, so you're more comfortable using it. Like you have a traditional taskbar and a start menu, and that would be, I think,
that's one
really
way.
good thing. Yeah.
And it's done through Clippy.
Yes.
That's the only Clippy pops up and says, do not expect this to be like regular.
Absolutely. Anduin, if you want to continue this project, we all three of us are giving you this wholehearted request of implementing Clippy, because Clippy is open source now and you can put it in the project. And that would be amazing if the welcome screen says, hey, I see you're trying to use Anduin OS. Let me tell you about it.
I almost want to take back anything negative I ever said about Windows because they open sourced Clippy. Like,
Yeah,
talk about a
that's
gift
cool.
to the world.
I almost want to take that back too. I won't, but I kind of almost. I don't. Actually, I don't. I think it's great that you open sourced Clippy, Windows, Microsoft. I think that's great that you did that. But you've done way too many things that you're going to have to open source like 1,000 Clippies to make
Just
that okay.
Office. If they just open sourced Office, honestly, I would be pretty happy.
Oh, well, Clippy is inspired by Microsoft Bob, which was Microsoft's first operating system. So instead of Clippy, how about for Linux, we have Tuxie? We have a little Tuxie thing.
Let's not recreate the Clippy experience,
Unless Anduin wants to do it, then that's okay because it's Windows-ish.
Interesting. The news this week also, Microsoft's doing a pretty big layoff, 3%, and I think they have like 270,000 employees, so that's a lot of their staff they're laying off, which I think equates to around like 6,000 employees, something along those lines. That's really bad news, especially in the fact that their quarterly revenues were record-breaking at $70 billion that they're deciding to do the layoff.
Of course it was. Mm-hmm. I was like, why are you bringing up this such a bummer topic? You're like, people losing their jobs. Like, okay, this is a great transition, Ryan. It's because they're making money and still letting people go.
Yeah. So, but when you think about Microsoft's dominance right now, they're not, everything was their operating system, and now they're in a lot of different areas, even in Linux for that matter, right? And pushing Linux-based solutions from the server side. When you look at all their stack on Azure and things like that, there's Linux behind the scenes. I guess it would be about 200,000 employees at 6,000, 220,000, something around there, more like. But anyway, 6,000 employees reduced. And then the reason why they're saying they're doing this is because of capitalism, essentially. I literally think that was one of the quotes. But capital expenditures that they're making towards AI. And so when you think about where Windows is actually focusing their attention, it's in this AI space, this AI realm. And potentially some of this reduction is because of AI, right? You don't need as many employees potentially to do things when you have AI that helps. So I think this is interesting thing to come. And generally when Microsoft does it, you're going to see some other big tech companies start doing the same kind of pattern. But it really makes you wonder, when you look at Microsoft's true value as a consumer, it really boils down to Office. And that's it for me.
I honestly have been trying to think about it since you said if they open source Office. I was trying to think about, is there anything else at all that I care about for them that they make at all? Like, I guess you could kind of say Xbox, but I would really not even want that. I just want the games to work on my platform, and the developers of the games could do that themselves. So that's not even, doesn't matter. So no, I do no. I
mean, that's another weird thing with Windows when you think about it. They weren't able to get into the mobile market at all. Right? They were never able to get their operating system to take off. They weren't able to get into the iPod market when it was just music-based stuff. They tried with their Zune players and things.
I mean, so the problem with that is that they try way too late on all that stuff. Now they're trying to AI like immediately.
They really couldn't break into that market well. They've tried to create their own hardware through the Surface line, which I think is mildly successful, but I wouldn't say is like mind-blowingly successful for them.
I actually really like their giant Surface table.
That was cool.
That was really cool.
Yeah. Obviously, I only looked at it on video at CES. I wasn't even at the thing, but it's a cool idea,
So when you look at like their successes lately, you think about Bing. I think Bing's been a big success compared to where it was. And then Bing.
Yes, because Bing is actually a good example because Google has decided to make itself worse, and therefore Bing gets better just out of comparison.
And integrated ChatGPT, one of the first ones to really integrate well into the browser. I thought they did a good job of the integration in there. And then they, the browser world, which they were dying in, they've been able to come up in. They've got Office, which I don't care if people disagree or not. I think Office actually is a fantastic product, specifically Excel. Excel is an incredible piece of software. It's so powerful, so useful. Things are getting better now in OnlyOffice and Google Docs, and other of these solutions are now catching up. But Excel is a fantastic piece of software. So there are some things that they do well, but it's like there's just this very finite thing, and the operating system just doesn't seem to be a big focus of their attention. So it'll be interesting either way to see what happens.
They did close their Windows department a few years ago.
Yeah.
They're
not releasing new versions every year anymore. It's kind of like it's all been Windows 11 and it's staying there.
Because they used to do service pack updates every year, like all the way back to XP. They had service pack 3 and stuff. Like they used to do it all the time. Now it's just, whenever they do it, they do constantly do updates because there's so many giant bugs inside of Windows. They have to do Patch Tuesday. So that happens every time. But
we get Windows recall soon, which is going to be
I can't wait.
Yeah.
It's great. So many
exciting.
great things are happening in the world of Microsoft.
All right. We've talked enough about Microsoft. You know what? At the end of the day,
this is Destination Linux, Ryan.
Yeah. Anduin. I don't have any issues with it being out there. I wonder with these type of projects, does it have enough support that if somebody's moving from Microsoft to it, that it's going to continue on? Does it have the whole life cycle approach? How long is it going to last? That type of thing.
It's maintained by one person.
Recommend a distro for somebody who wants something close to Windows, I would probably go with Zorin right now. But that doesn't mean this can't be a great alternative in the future, but it would have to have some longevity behind it before I would move somebody, because that would be really disruptive. You finally get them to move, and then you're like, oh, by the way, that's not supported anymore. Let's move everything over to this new OS.
That's true. This is more like a minimal style. That they have said that it's a minimal development process because they do, it's based on Ubuntu, and they just do like some tweaks stuff here and there. So, in that sense, you could kind of say it, but still, I agree. If you're going to convince someone to move, you can't do it multiple times.
Yeah, but cool that it exists. I wish the best to the project. I hope it gets a lot of people moving from Windows to Linux, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah,
but
and
Jill,
speaking of awesome movements and awesome projects, Jill has a fantastic update for a topic we just covered.
Oh,
yes.
Wow. Okay.
So we have some great news for open source funding on Linux. The Open Source Lab, which I talked about last week, OSL at Oregon State University, they've been operating for 22 years, and they provide infrastructure for over 500 open source projects like Inkscape, Firefox, Lineage OS, Gentoo, QEMU, MacPorts, GNOME, and even in the past, FFmpeg, and even in the past, the Linux kernel itself. And
you're just name dropping
Foundation.
now, Jill. Jeez.
Yeah.
Basically, if you pick a random project that you think is important, it's probably involved in that.
More than likely, if you're here in the US, you have downloaded a Linux distro from their servers and their mirrors. So last week, I talked about that the OSL will shut down later this year if they cannot secure $250,000 in committed funds soon. But guess what? They just posted the Open Source Lab. The community response has been incredible. Thanks to your amazing support, our team is funded for the next year. This is a huge relief and lets us focus on building a truly self-sustaining OSL. And I was just very, very excited because I got the word out here on Destination Linux, and I'm sure that helped them meet their funding goals. I know a lot of our viewers who told me that they donated, and
very nice.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Just wonderful. And so to help with self-sustainability, the Open Source Lab is seeking a new and cost-effective physical home for its core infrastructure with more newer modern hardware.
I have an idea. Move into Jill's house. She's got all the hardware you're ever going to need. And we could just run it right from there. Yep.
Yes.
Problem solved.
I have plenty of Blade servers. So their current data center is over 20 years old and needs to be replaced soon. And the university, may require OSL to relocate, and finding free or very low cost hosting between Eugene, Oregon and Portland, Oregon for approximately around 13 to 20 racks, and more power efficient hardware are priorities for their long-term sustainability. And OSL is, they're focusing also on securing multi-year funding commitments to cover operations and new infrastructure costs, such as annualized pledges and other kinds of regular income and reoccurring help. So they need the reoccurring help. Hey, maybe they should start a Patreon page as well.
Yeah.
You know, I was just thinking about that.
I mean, maybe they could set up something that takes less of
Yeah.
a fee, but it's
Okay, here's the
Yeah.
idea. They send the $240,000 they just made to us to buy advertising on our network. We help get the word out for reoccurring payments,
Yes.
and that helps. See how that worked?
There we go.
we just did that for them, Ryan.
But we didn't get the $240,000 to do it. That's what I'm saying. They give
All
us
right, so we're gonna cut this segment. We're gonna send it to OSL and say like, hey, if you want,
this
to
is
have
what
this,
would happen if you, because it's capitalism, Michael. We've got
it's all
to,
about capital decisions and whatever it was.
capital expenditures.
Expenditures, exactly.
So they OSL is asking the Linux community for leads on a free or low cost space, and if you know of a data center capacity of 13 to 20 racks between Eugene and Portland, Oregon, that would be helpful. And hardware donation leads. Can your .org, for instance, donate retired servers? And do you know data centers or refurbishers who might be able to help? So they need these connections and help spreading the word. And of course, corporate partnerships and sponsorships. You know, consider a multi-year sponsorship, especially if you're a company who benefits greatly from open source. And if you're in open source, you have used at least once in your lifetime one of these projects that they host.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
also if you're a business and you're using open source, you should definitely give back to in some way, whether it's OSL, whether it's the, like something like SPI, whether it's DL. I mean, whatever you want. There's
I can't
plenty.
that in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think this is really cool. I think that they probably need to come up with some type of little, like EFF does, you get some hats, some stickers, some little giveaways and things with
There's
the
a great
reoccurring
idea.
funds.
Yeah.
Some things to really help kind of, people like to get something back, even though it's not of equal value to what they're paying. But, just something that they could show their support and stuff. Tor does this, other things that I've supported.
And
over
also
the years, and it's
people
kinda
like
cool.
swag. I mean, if it's cool swag and not just random nonsense, obviously.
Yeah.
But some cool swag that has a thing that's like, hey, thanks for participating. Here's a cool thing. And it doesn't have to be the greatest thing ever, but just
it could be
something.
stickers. Yeah.
Yep.
You could also send them a link to the great podcast called Destination Linux, and I'm sure they'd appreciate that too.
Exactly.
Man, you're just throwing it on all angles. I love it.
So make sure to reach out to donations at osl.org for any discussions on these fronts and how you would like to help. And you can still donate at their webpage that's in our show notes.
Nice.
So, yeah.
All right. Well,
Exciting.
Michael, I've told you a million times by now, don't play with open source. Okay? Don't mess with it.
Don't mess with open source. Yeah, don't play with it. We've played with open source like thousands of times. All
Right.
So
You're supposed to play with open source. That's
Yeah,
the
exactly.
point. But don't play with it, like attitude-wise.
Don't play with it.
Yeah, that kind of play with it.
Yeah,
Don't play with it. On this show, we've covered several situations, not a ton, but several situations where companies have moved away from open source and closed their code to proprietary blobs. We've also covered the opposite, where a closed source company goes and changes themselves to open source. And a lot of times when it's the opposite, when they're going from open source to closed source, they'll claim it's like, hey, the licensing's too permissive. Competitors are not playing fair. They're taking our code, they're reselling it. They're not contributing back, that type of stuff. And of course, there's different licenses and things they could look at to solve that, but they get frustrated. They close source it, and then it's no longer open source. And Redis is one of those companies that moved away from open source.
Redis.
And the community was not very happy about it when it happened.
That's an understatement. There was a lot of rage.
So, this is a NoSQL kind of database management system, as I understand it. And
yes,
this was very popular tool to be used in the open source community until they closed sourced it. And then
it still is also super popular because people couldn't transition away from it because it was so intertwined in the software they're using and stuff like that. Because there's a lot of projects that are still using it even now, like using older versions of it that was open source and then just kind of like maintaining that open source version and that sort of stuff. So like there's there's a lot. It's a messy situation, and it's kind of funny because they basically just the way they came out against it was understandable, but it's also like there's ways to handle certain things, and the way they did it was to completely pivot the opposite way. And then because their whole complaint
they
was
were
that,
BSD, right? Which is like the most permissive license.
yes, it's arguably one of the worst options if you're actually like if you don't want anyone to be able to do whatever they want, don't pick a license that lets them do whatever they want. So this is like kind of the fun, like it's a complicated thing. But first, I wanted to talk about the fact that they said that they were being taken advantage of by bigger companies who was taking the goodwill of the open source and then like making their own proprietary version of it and then selling that version instead of using their software. And that is absolutely, I feel like, pretty sketch. I feel like that is a reason to be annoyed. But when you pivot, you should pivot to something that is not going to alienate their community. And that's kind of what they did. They picked something that was too far the other way, and it just made people annoyed. And then a bunch of forks happened.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fork was Valkey, I think, was one of the big ones, right? That came out afterwards. And
Valkey was probably the most known. And there's also another one that's like Reddit or something like that, or
Reddit.
Something that's
the forum.
It's something like it's like Redis, but it's modified in the sense of like Reddit or something like that. I don't know. I don't remember what it was, but it was Valkey was the one that kind of took over. But the BSD part of it, that's the funny part, is that there's an argument of software like this when wanting to get big, they choose something that the enterprise companies be like, haha, we can proprietary that thing. And so they pick it to get the attention. And then when they get the negative attention of them proprietary, then it's a problem. So it's kind of like trying to balance it. So I actually, when they first announced this, I covered it in a separate video on my channel talking about how what they could have done is to switch over to something else that's restrictive, but not super completely restrictive and not like locked down. And if they had done that, it would kind of be like a bait and switch, but for the enterprise corporation stuff, rather than the users who are like the people who are affected by it and the user side are annoyed by this change when they went to the SSPL or something like that. SSPL. When they went to that, people were bothered by that because they were changing the terms of the deal sort of thing. And if they were just changing it to annoy the enterprise companies, that people would have been like, yeah, go ahead. We don't care, to absolutely annoy them. But they went too far, and now they've kind of like pivoted back.
Yeah. Well, they chose the AGPL v3, apparently, is the new license that they chose, which I think people were upset that the community wasn't involved in any way in the decision of what open source license they were going to go back to, which I think would have probably shown some good faith on Redis's part if they had, reached out to the community saying, hey, we want to go back to an open source license. Where do you think we should go? Kind of try to rebuild some trust back. I'm not saying that AGPL v3 is a bad license, but it's certainly, like I said, something where at this point, if you're wanting to get your reputation back, I think part of the problem is you did all this stuff without engaging the community or talking to the community about it or asking the community for solutions with the original problems you were having, and then just went closed source. And now you want to come back to open source. You're once again not really engaging with the community.
I think that is an interesting position, but I also would say that the majority of the people who were bothered by the transition for them in the community are companies who want them to go MIT or BSD. Mm-hmm. And they say that AGPL is too restrictive. And it exists because it has a similar, it's more like GPL on the servers, sort of. Like A means a pharaoh, but it's basically like that kind of thing. So it's a separate than the regular GPL, but it's very similar in the sense that if you release something as AGPL, it also has to be like a derivative or fork has to also be AGPL. Otherwise, it violates the license. And that's basically the only restriction really that it offers, or in terms of like what I could see people being annoyed by. But the regular user would not be annoyed by that. Just the corporate companies I see would be annoyed by that.
Yeah, I think regular users are more suspicious of the company.
Well, that, yes,
bouncing back and forth. And so that's where I think you need to bring the community back in and start building some trust.
That's a fair point. Yeah.
I'm happy that they chose to go back to open source.
Absolutely.
I think they made the wrong decision, but I'm happy they went back. However, Jill, you put a comment in here that is very unlike Jill. And so I would like you to read it verbatim, please, for our audience.
So, great intentions by Redis, but too little too late.
Boom. All right. So our software spotlight this week is Floorp.
Good luck, Redis.
Yeah. Floorp is a browser, Michael. Not your floor. It's Floorp. And not... What's Flubber? Is Flubber the movie they made?
Flubber's the movie with the gel thing bouncing around all the time. Yeah,
I don't know why Floorp makes me think of that, but Floorp.
Yeah,
I don't know why at all.
Flubber, Floorp, whatever.
Sure, why not?
Sure,
but also Floorp is an interesting name. It's like they were like, you know what? We can't call it floor. Let's just add another letter to it for some reason.
What does Floorp mean? Does it have a meaning outside of?
Well, I know it's created by a Japanese developer.
Let's look at the definition. It probably has a definition.
We could do this Japanese before the show, so we have this ready, but we don't.
We don't
get it raw.
We don't anticipate things. What are you talking about, Ryan?
You can't ever anticipate what I'm going to talk about because I'll go very different directions with things than we ever discuss.
And anyways, we don't want that to happen most of the time. Actually, if you say translate from Japanese to English, it says Floorp means Floorp. If you say English, it says Floorp means Floorp. So I didn't get anything.
Deep. Okay. I don't think there is. Let us know if in your language, Floorp means something. But Floorp is a browser. If you're tired of Firefox and some of the drama that they have over there, but you still love Firefox, you love the base of Firefox, Floorp might be the answer for you. It's a Firefox-based flexible browser developed in Japan with lots of customization features like strong tracking protection out of the box, flexible layout, switchable design that gets updates on a regular basis. You don't have to worry about having an outdated browser. It's powered by open source. It looks like a really, really cool alternative to, and there's a lot of great alternatives out there, but Floorp looks really beautiful. And they have a really nice website. I think it's a really good website. Makes you feel more comfortable downloading a browser when the website doesn't look like it was built, from GeoCities.
Okay, so that's true, but this is I would like to tell anyone who's making a browser of any kind, if you're making a browser, the website for your browser that's sole purpose is to display websites better be one of the best websites ever. Because that's literally what you're supposed to be doing with this product. So if you ever run across a browser that doesn't have a good website, just run from that thing because there is no justification for not having a good website. Now I
want to see if there's a browser. I looked up LibreWolf. Their browser, their website's okay. What's some other ones we could look at? I want to find
Waterfox. Let's see what Waterfox is. Yeah. It's not great. It's okay, but it ain't great.
No, it's not bad. I like Waterfox's.
I mean, they got the text slammed to the top.
You're just very Michael.
I said it's okay.
I like SeaMonkey's website. It's very classic.
All right, let's see SeaMonkey.
There is no way that's okay. That hasn't been updated.
We're doing this live. If you all thought this was a structured podcast, you're wrong. We just do whatever the heck we think of it.
Jill is just way too nice because SeaMonkey's website is so bad.
But it's meant to look old.
I ended up at the SeaMonkeys.com where you actually buy sea monkeys. So that's where I'm at. And I'm very happy right now because it's the old SeaMonkey cartoons where you can buy the little SeaMonkey aquarium.
All right, I'll help you out. You can check the notes. I put the link to SeaMonkey's website.
I'm going to put the notes to real SeaMonkeys. I'm going to put the link to that in the notes as well because that's so cool that they're still around. You can still buy SeaMonkeys.
Yeah.
Don't you like it, everybody, how serious we are of our preparations and stuff?
Oh, well, something else cool about Floorp. It is what Garuda Linux's FireDragon browser is based on. So when I found out that, I've been using Floorp more because of that, because I love FireDragon. so that's sweet. Yeah.
SeaMonkey's webpage for the browser, that is, not the actual SeaMonkeys you buy. That page is the bomb.
Yes.
The SeaMonkey
bomb.com
browser's webpage is not great.
No, that's what. It also is an ancient project, which I highly doubt is even maintained anymore.
Actually, it is like every 6 months.
But it's still so for reference point. When a browser is updated, they're typically like 2 point something, or they're like updated. It's 2 to 3 version, or 3 to 4 version. This is the latest version is 2.53.21 beta 1. It's not up to
Look, I just looked up Netscape. They've got a nice web page.
Netscape, the one that hasn't existed in decades.
But there's isp.netscape.com, which has a Netscape mail. So it looks like the old 90s setup for like AOL. It's dope.
This actually does. This is what it looked like in the 90s. This is what Netscape looked like.
If you want to know what browsing was like when Michael and I were kids, you should go to this isp.netscape.com. Do not sign up for anything, because I highly doubt none of this looks particularly secure. This is what it looked like when you logged in back in the 90s.
It says copyright Yahoo at the bottom.
Well, I think they didn't they
Yahoo buy Netscape? Yeah, I think so. But I wonder what this is supposed to be. Like, is it?
Do they get a lot of traffic on this site?
A lot of some of the articles are recent.
Is this going to take over Bing and Google here?
No.
You sure? I like it. I might.
I mean, it is the internet service, so who knows? It could be.
You can even add your zip code in to get your weather. It's got everything I want in a landing page. This is amazing. How did we get here? Nobody knows. But that is what happens when you listen to this show. So, by the way, Michael, did you ever have real sea monkeys when you were a kid?
Oh, yeah. Probably when I was a kid. I think so.
Probably. You got to think back. They were animals. They were your pets. You probably named them the little shrimp.
I had a bunch of siblings. So, like, I don't know. I didn't personally have any sea monkeys, but I think my sister or my brothers did or something.
Yeah. Jill, did you have sea monkeys?
Oh, not only the ones that are in the mail, but I actually caught some shrimp in the ocean and had a tank with shrimp in it.
No, we're not talking about hibachi, Jill. We're talking about the little.
What about unagi?
I had saltwater tank.
That's pretty cool. All right, so yeah, it was a thing. I don't know if it's even considered cruel and stuff now. Like it used to be, you could go in the toy section and
I remember.
A little sea monkey thing, and you add water, and I don't know how it worked, but they were alive-ish. They looked alive and stuff.
Who knows?
All right. I'm not selling sea monkeys. Well, by the way, SeaMonkeys.com, if you want to sponsor us, we will totally push sea monkeys.
Okay, now I have to go to this website to see what this is, because I know what you're talking about.
I added the link for you.
But it's like I have to see if I'm going to promote something, I have to see what it is, and it's like,
I want you to reach out to them, Michael, this week and see if they will sponsor Destination Linux, because
I remember these kinds of things. I feel like
it fits with our audience.
It might. In fact, it says, like, their logo, it says, "I created instant life." Like it's a power.
So
65 years and still growing strong.
Yes.
Okay. This is very creepy. If you scroll down, and the imagery of this website is so creepy.
It's amazing. The little sea monkey eggs, and you hatch them, and
Thanks
how's
for
that
watching
Linux
the show,
related?
people.
I don't know. Put sea monkeys next to your Linux machine, and then you've got a little bit of.
But if you have water cooled system, Ryan.
Oh my gosh! You could put them in the water cool thing. They just help cool your system.
Speaking of which, the SeaMonkey project and web browser is awesome because it integrates an email client, a chat client. It's like old school Firefox before it separated into.
But no, you're still kind of selling it in a different way. It is old school Firefox because it's still the same old thing.
Yes, and it still uses actually the old Firefox extension.
Doesn't that have a lot of vulnerabilities, Jill? Should we be pushing that?
Probably.
Yeah, but it has both. But actually, their extension system is pretty awesome because you can use old and new. And I still have some old Firefox extensions that I like to use. And I know
use it in a virtual machine. People do not put it on your main machine because
we don't know. If you are part of SeaMonkey, the company, you can ask context for a sponsorship. If you're part of the SeaMonkey project for browser, let us know. your current status of the code and if it's actually usable or not. And if you want something that has an email client or a chat system or all that, you can also check out Vivaldi. It has it all built into too.
I've read all kinds of articles this week, Michael, and over the months of people having a harder time this generation making friends. And it blows my mind because I'm like, all you have to do is go to tuxdigital.com/Discord.
I thought you were going to say all you got to do is go get some SeaMonkeys.
Well, I was getting there. If you go to tuxdigital.com/Discord, you join our community and you go into the forum and you basically say, I love Linux. Now, everyone in that room, you have something in common with. You've made friends. How hard is this? I've just made you thousands of friends immediately.
And it's been tested and confirmed. It 100% works.
It really has. There was somebody in our chat. People
we're not even kidding. That literally did happen. It was proven to be factual. So just go do it.
So you can be surrounded by friends. And this week, what you should do is go in there and say, hey, I like SeaMonkeys too. And then you're going to have a bunch of people like telling you the stories about their favorite SeaMonkey and all their stories about playing fetch with their SeaMonkeys and teaching their SeaMonkeys to sit and do tricks. And then
first of all, they don't have ability to sit down. They can't catch anything. Like, are you sure you were talking about SeaMonkeys?
Clearly, Michael, you didn't train your SeaMonkeys like I trained my SeaMonkeys. So,
yes, that's true. I guess I didn't.
Go to tuxdigital.com/Discord if you trained your SeaMonkeys and
let us know what tricks you taught your SeaMonkeys.
Oh, poor SeaMonkeys.
tuxdigital.com/Discord. Also, if you want to support the show, because for some reason you like this kind of content, go to tuxdigital.com/membership because you can become a patron and you can support us doing this, whatever that is.
Yeah.
So tuxdigital.com/membership, you get you can support us, but you also get a bunch of cool perks. We have the ability to watch the show live. You can get unedited episodes of the show. There's a lot of great fun that happens before and after the show. And if you're a patron, you get to check that out. And if you're not, well, you don't. You're missing out on tons of great.
You get nothing.
Yeah, I mean, you get a great show.
No, you get nothing.
You still get this because you get this. It's on YouTube. You still get this show. You just don't get the best version you could possibly imagine because of all the weirdness and stuff that you see in this show. There's more
times 10.
I mean, maybe not times 10, but like
times
at least
100.
You're closer to that. Yes, I think we're getting closer. But go check it out. tuxdigital.com/membership and get all these great perks, including merch discounts. That's right. If you want to get some swag, we have swag. tuxdigital.com/store, and you can get a bunch of cool stuff. We have hats, mugs, hoodies, t-shirts, and more. And coming soon, Ryan's okay, I guess.
And SeaMonkeys.
And SeaMonkeys.
I think SeaMonkeys is probably copyrighted, maybe?
Yeah, I think so.
They copyrighted an animal?
I mean, the term SeaMonkey is not the name of the animal.
What is a SeaMonkey? Is it?
I guess we could call them sea shrimp.
What is a SeaMonkey classified?
This is riveting content, people. Ryan is looking up what is a SeaMonkey.
Is
it a monkey?
Is it a mammal? It's a mammal. Confirmed.
So I don't believe you, so I'm looking it up myself.
No, it's a mammal. It's 100% a mammal. That's why you can teach it to sit and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's a shrimp.
That's a crustacean.
Yeah.
It's a specific kind of shrimp that's just a marketing name for this kind of shrimp.
Yeah.
And for some reason, Ryan wants to call it a mammal. Why?
Well, while the boys are...
And also the marketing... the images of the mark on the SeaMonkey is messed up because that is not what a SeaMonkey looks like. Yeah, it's false advertised.
Well, while the boys are searching for their SeaMonkeys, make sure to check out all the amazing shows here on Tux Digital. That's right. We have an entire network of shows to fill your whole week with geeky goodness, like the DOS Geek channel. He's going to have a video coming out very soon.
It's out right now, Jill.
Oh, awesome.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Let's check that out.
So head to tuxdigital.com.
Like right now, I'm going to load it up
Linux
right now.
penguins marching.
I know that I'm supposed to be
from Ryan.
I'm supposed to be ending the show right now, but I'm looking up what Ryan's video is about to tell you about it. It is about protecting your passwords from malware in 2025. That's right.
KeePass got hacked, Michael.
It is also about that. I was setting you up to say that.
Yeah.
But like
KeyPass got hacked or did it? It's kind of like
it. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it
But
kind of
also-
did, but kind of didn't. You got to go check it out to find out what it's all about. And it doesn't have anything to do with SeaMonkeys, unfortunately. I didn't know.
I mean, that is a shame. Yeah. And also, real quick, so KeyPass and KeyPass 2 and KeyPass X and KeyPass whatever, those are different things. Just so you know, there's a bunch of stuff that's called KeyPass. It's kind of confusing. I did not help you in any way just now. But more importantly, I think Ryan's thumbnail has him wearing a mask on. So it's like an anonymous mask, but it's like silver.
But cooler.
Yeah. So if you want to check out what Ryan looks like as an anonymous silver phantom character, then you can check out his video. We'll have it linked in the show notes as well as this. But everybody have a great week. And remember that the journey itself is just as important as the destination.
Don't. Oh,
and your thumbnail looks beautiful, Ryan. Good job.
Thank you, Jill.
I mean, it's got a lot of good use of negative space.
It's a lot of negative space in there. See,
there is a lot of negative space.
I didn't overcrowd it because Michael always says you overcrowd your thumbnails. This time, did not overcrowd my thumbnail.
It is true. And also, I've told him many times that you need to stop putting very small text that you can't read. And he put really big text. And I'm like, whoa, good job. So finally, he's making progress. And now we just make it look good.
Listen, if you can train your SeaMonkeys to sit, you can do anything, you know?
Wait, are you saying that because you can train your SeaMonkeys that you can make a good thumbnail? Or are you saying that I'm training you because you're a SeaMonkey?
Wow. I didn't even think of the second option, but I like it. By the way, you know why they're mammals? If you go to SeaMonkeys.com, there's a Dr. SeaMonkey. There's SeaMonkey of all types of different Cupid. There's clown SeaMonkeys.
Yeah.
Like these SeaMonkeys are crazy active, man. They're amazing.
And also apparently a clown, the doctor, the scientist, for sure. And
they're definitely mammals.
And these look exactly how they supposed to look when they become the alive and stuff. That's not at all just a caricature or anything. That's legit.
This is actually a really nice website for SeaMonkeys.
I mean, for what it is, it's not bad. I'll give them credit.
They have history of SeaMonkeys on here. They have over 195 patents on SeaMonkeys. Oh, we're totally getting sued. All right, what's this about?
We've only talked about SeaMonkeys. We're not competing with them on SeaMonkeys.
Are we not? Because Jill said she got some out of the ocean. I say we start our own SeaMonkey brand.
Yeah.
You know? But instead of SeaMonkeys, we call them water penguins.
I mean, aren't most penguins good with water?
Yeah, but these are Michael, you're not seeing the marketing opportunity here. We sell water penguins, which are just little brine shrimp. And we sell it to Linux people.
Oh, they're not even, of course. Because why might as well call them ocean penguins? Because that's about the same as that's because you're saying it doesn't have to be an actual correct thing because it's not a monkey. You're right. And also, this is not what that looks like. So who cares?
Yeah, exactly. Like when you actually got SeaMonkeys, it just looked like little debris floating in water anyway. So you had to use your imagination. But
he still somehow taught it to play catch. Who knows?
Of course. They're
all right. Thanks.
Very smart mammals.
Yeah, of course they are. Thanks for watching the show, everybody. If you're still here, why? Let us know in the comments. Yeah, let us know in the comments or destinationlinux.net/feedback and let us know why you kept sticking around for all this random stuff.
Imagine what you could have learned in this time. Like if you would have just read a book instead,
I mean, you wouldn't be as entertaining depending on the book, I guess, but still. This has been a great episode. My face hurts because of laughing too much.
Yes.
Let's end the show now. Thanks for watching, everybody.
See y'all.
Love you all.
Most of you.
And
all
SeaMonkeys too.
Yes, we love SeaMonkeys. No, ocean penguins.
Ocean penguins. Yes.
Sea shrimps. Sea crustaceans.
But that's really what they are, though, Jill. You can't just we gotta make up some random thing like
but that's not copyright.
Hey, SeaMonkey, click the stop button.
Okay, Sea Donkey.